I've learned to let go of a lot of hardness about that and just accept my mom for who she is, and to love her and to be there for her and to listen. So God's made a big difference through the trial that is what my mom is going through in her life right now as a 91-year-old and not in greatest health. I want to share another thing, and this has been, I teach the adult Sunday school class, and I go to Steve's Bible study every Thursday night, and what I've learned over the years is that I have a really great study Bible, and it's got lots of great notes and stuff like that, but I've found that when I'm preparing for teaching, and my class, Sunday school class, feels no compunction about asking me to Eric, could you teach through Revelation? Okay. And then we finished that, and that somehow worked, and we got through that. And then I thought, let's do something like Philemon, quickie, easy, something like that. And he said, how about Isaiah? It's like, oh. So we're going through Isaiah now. And I have to say that I feel like that ahead of time, anxious, like I don't know enough, I don't know how to get through that. But as I go through it, I've learned that for me, and I think something that may be good for everyone who's trying to read the Bible and make sense of difficult parts, is don't read commentaries first. Don't read the notes in your study Bible first. Read the Bible first. Ask God what he wants to tell you about that passage. And at times, he won't. You'll just read something that's like, wow, this makes no sense, Lord. And he says, for you right now, leave it. But what I've found, though, is that a lot of times he will start speaking to me. I'm reading a book by Chuck Smith on prayer, and his second chapter is one of the important parts about prayer. It's a conversation with God. So yes, we speak to God about our needs and what's on our heart, but he says we sometimes forget to shut up. Like part of prayer is listening and waiting for him to speak to us. One of the ways he speaks to us is through his word. And I've found over the years that he does speak to me through his word. If I'm patient and I don't go running to commentaries and things first, he'll start speaking to me. And so I find that for me, that works best in the lessons that I teach, in the Bible studies that I'm just sharing it as one of the students too. So anyways, let God speak to you. Sometimes he speaks through his word. Sometimes he speaks through relatives. Sometimes he speaks through the ones we love when we really need it. So just learning to listen more to God.
Good morning. I've done Toastmasters, so I can do this. First of all, I would say maybe 5 years ago, my ex-husband, we were married for 18 years, but we've been divorced for over 20. And the house that's behind me came for rent, and he asked if we'd have an issue with him moving back there. And I said, no. It was an amicable divorce, and we just got older. Well, he moved back there, and 2 years ago, he was diagnosed with pulmonary lung disease, pulmonary fibrosis, which there's no cure. It just gets worse. There's no time limit on when the end. It's up to the Lord. But he wasn't going to the doctor. It was a cough, and he wasn't getting it taken care of. And so I told him, we need to get this taken care of. So we started going, I got him insurance, we started going to the doctor, and he was diagnosed. They started him on medication and classes. And I feel that if God hadn't stepped in, he would not have moved into that back house, and we would not have seen each other often to know that he was sick. So I feel that he was placed there so that I was able to help him. He's still independent, still lives in the back house, but we know eventually he'll have to move in to the front house with me and my son, and my daughter and her husband live somewhere else. So I truly believe that every day he gives me strength to help. His name is Lalo, to help Lalo. And we pray for him all the time just to give him strength. He has more bad days than good days, and I just try to keep his spirit up. Also, I was raised Catholic, and I stopped going to church. But within the last 2 years, I knew I needed to go back to church, but I just didn't want to go back to Catholic church. It didn't fulfill me. And Michael Ma, that I've known since 7th grade, we were talking one day, and we ran into Anthony at a fundraiser thing we were at, and she's like, "Oh, I know them from church." And I said, "What church do you go to?" She says, "The one right by your house." I'm like, "Really?" So she says, "We do Bible studies on Wednesdays and church on Sunday." So that Wednesday, I started going to Bible study, and I started coming to church Sundays, and it has been so rewarding. I didn't understand the Bible. During Bible study, listening to Pastor Michael, I get it, I understand it, I retain what is being said, and learning. And I truly believe that God stepped in that Sunday and just turned the light on and said, "Okay, this is where you belong, and this is where I feel I truly belong." I don't wake up on Sundays and like, "Oh, I don't want to go to church." I wake up early. I look forward to it. I look forward to listening. I look forward to Bible studying with the ladies. You know, sometimes we chat a lot, but, you know, I get it and I understand it, and I truly believe that he has stepped into my life.
I never took Toastmaster or whatever that was. I'm her comadre. We've known each other since we were like 12 years old. So, and as she shared, I was brought to church with Pastor Michael's mom. Me and Maria have been friends for a very, very long time, since our kids were real small. And I was blessed to talk to her several times, and she knows that I was Catholic as well. And she started telling me that Michael was coming here and she was starting to come, and if I'd like to join her. And I, as like Claire, get a lot more here than I did, not knocking the Catholic Church. You know, my family's still Catholic, but I understand more here, and I feel more, I feel that because we know each other, or we're getting to know each other, we accept each other's flaws and know that things can be better, because we hear testimonies from other people, so you don't feel so isolated. I've been blessed with health for my husband this year. He's been off of his treatment. He had kidney cancer. God saw us through that. He saw us through the treatment. We're going to continue, hopefully, getting all good CT scans and MRIs. I've been blessed with a granddaughter that kind of has united our family after losing my dad with COVID. He was the last parent I had, and it'll be 3 years this February. But new life in a family brings you closer together, and also brings me closer together with everybody here, because I could share what I needed sharing and see that you guys give me strength with the Pastor Michael as he leads us through prayer. I'll talk to Maria, and she's always giving me good advice. And like you said, it's not always good times, and it's not always bad, but God is always with us, no matter where we're at, or what obstacles we encounter in our life. God is always there. And I believe that we'll continue to grow as a community. And I think, Michael, I remember him saying, you know, we were just a little bit last year, and he was like, we're going to keep praying for more people coming in. And I look around, and now I see more people, more chairs filled. So God is listening to all of us. So that's my praise report. And
Hi, this is my first time with my family in service on a Sunday. We know Pastor Mike since high school. So I want to start by saying that I had absolutely no intention of coming up here, but God always knows what he needs to share. And what he's been sharing with me this year a lot has been about obedience and how that's transformed our life as a family. And even like in this instance, he said, get up there and tell them what you did. You know, tell them what I did, what God did. And so I am going to share with you guys that for a really long time, I loved God in private. I didn't need to share him with the world. I didn't need my husband to be on board. I thought, like, this is just how it is. I love God. You know, he was not a Christian. We were raised Catholic. Things are a little bit different there. And it just was what it was. This year, God started to ask certain things of me, and he started saying, why don't you serve? You know, you love me. Just come on in. You know, just join. Just you know, do this little thing for me. And I pushed back a little bit. I was just kind of like, I'm doing what I'm doing already. I'm very busy. I'm a mom. I have 2 kids and 2 jobs, you know. But I did it anyway, and I didn't know what it was going to lead to. So I thought I was just doing something that he was asking me to do, and I thought it was just going to be, like, fulfilling for me. But what he's constantly teaching me is that obedience to him brings blessings that we don't even know how to ask for. I couldn't have imagined what the next year would look like because I stepped in. And I did. And I think some of it had to do with, like, seeing me there. But, you know, a year and a half later, my husband was very recently saved, which is beautiful for us. But I didn't do that, right? I had to do my part, and my part was, like, just step in on what I'm asking you and let God do the rest. My family goes to church with us now. I haven't gone to church with my family since I was a child. I'm 30, you know, so I didn't even know how to ask for that. I didn't know how to ask God, like, I want to go to church with my whole family. And he did that. And we're all going to church together. We look forward to it, you know. And it's beautiful. It's so beautiful. And so I think, like, what I'm holding on to a lot, and what I think he wants all of us to really hear, is that obedience is not usually very extravagant. He usually asks really, like, small things of us, you know. Walk in, you know, into those doors, talk to that one person. Invite somebody from work to church, invite them into your home, ask somebody how they're doing, whatever it is. And what he has in store for us, because of those little things, it's gonna blow our mind. His plans are, you know, so much bigger than ours. But it does take us having to step out of our comfort zone, and it does require us to walk with him. And when we say things like, let your will be, you know, will be done, he wants us to actually live that. You know, he wants us to listen to his will and then go and do it. So that's all I have to share with you guys is, you know, his ways are better. His ways are better. So I don't know if you want this bad boy.
Hello, everyone. I've been going to this church, I want to say, like 35 years. My aunt lived down the street, and she introduced us to this church. And so my children has been through the church. I have 2 children that's been married here. We had when our pastor left, I felt really bad. I didn't know if I would still continue to come to this church. But the Lord told me, Ruby, keep going, keep pushing. And I'm glad that I did, because we have an awesome pastor. He goes out into the community. You can call him, he'll call you right back. And that's what I like. If you go to a bigger church, you got to go through elders. You can't even get to the pastors. And that's not what I don't like. I want to have a direct communication with the pastor as well. This year, in January 30th, my husband had a stroke, major stroke. This is devastating to the family. I'm a mother of 5 and never went through something so horrible, because you don't know the first 24 hours of a stroke is critical. He didn't recognize us. He was just out of it. And so I stood in the hospital, spent the night, and as it got closer to the morning, he started to come out of it. And his children, I didn't know how his children would react. They're grown adults. But the love of God of my children, they were there. And it was nice to see the united that they were for their dad. They would visit. They would give him encouragement. And that's what I liked, because I didn't know how they would react. Even when he came home from the hospital, Stephanie, my 2 oldest ones that are into the medical fields, they were there with him. Stephanie, whatever her dad need, she gave it to him, even though she gave him some advice to be good. Because my husband, I'm not trying to put you on blast, Michael, but he would sit down and eat 13 Twinkies in one sitting with a glass of milk. And Stephanie would say, you can't do that no more, Dad. You got to have vegetables. And she always says, you got to eat vegetables. She would bring him some vegetable soup, trying to encourage him, but he won't eat his vegetables. But just to see the grandkids coming over, I think my husband had a cramp in his stomach. My granddaughter, Michaela, she had a little animal where you could put heat in it, and it's like a little warmer. She came over and she gave it to her grandfather. She says, Grandpa, this is all I have, but this will keep you warm, and it did. I'm just saying that God has been so good. I had 2 major surgery. Well, not major. One was a transplant for my eyes, and I asked this church to please pray me up, because I'm scared of surgery, very scared of not waking up. And I went in, and I was so prayed up, wasn't even afraid. Then I had to have my wrist. In the MRI, it showed, yeah, it needed to be done. But when they went in, it was a major tear in there. They had to fix this. Once again, I was prayed up with this church, felt nothing. I'm going back to work in January the 5th. I've been off all this time. But not only that, the Lord gave me the opportunity to be with Michael. I'm just saying that you don't know what's going to happen or how your children are going to feel when a major thing happens to a family member. And not only that, I got a chance to learn the Bible study women. Oh my God, they are so amazing. Each and every one of them have a story to encourage you. And we had an awesome teacher that taught us too. And I love the Bible study, and I'm going to miss when I go back to work. And also, Michael, Pastor Mike, I love the way you preach up here, and I love the way that you're getting young children involved. That's the main thing. I have always told you, you're bringing in the second generation into this church. You're going to give it life. Thank you.
Hi, everybody. My name is Albert, for those of you who don't know me. I attended Redeemer here a while back. I got to raise my girls here. I also gained a bunch of young people who were very special to me. Redeemer is a place to be. And it's not called redeemed just because you've come here and are redeemed. It means that you're supposed to be a redeemer. You're supposed to be investing in people's lives. The last church I came to was an amazing church. And you know what made it amazing? The people. People like Michael that God has given you to shepherd you, to guide you, to be with you, to cry with you, to pray with you. But even Moses, who was a great leader, needed someone to hold his hand up, to help him serve. I've been through some things in this church, and Redeemer was there for me. He was here. I was here during good times, and I was here at the bad times. I lost a daughter. Redeemer was here. The people were here. They loved her so much that this church couldn't even hold all the people that wanted to come and pay the respect. They literally stood outside because there was no room. How great would it be if that's how it is, or it could be, every Sunday when God is here, that the seats are so packed that they're waiting outside just to catch a glimpse, to catch a word of what God has given Michael to say. And God is going to use Michael very mightily, but he also wants to use you too. This church is the body of Christ. And in 1 Corinthians 12, it says that you should ask for the greatest gift, and not so that you could have some lofty title, but seek what talents God has already implanted in you. He's not asking you to do things that you can't do, that he hasn't already planted in you, invested in you, and nurtured in you, and other people have raised you up to be. He has faithfully and steadfastly made you an Anthony to come and speak, or a Bonnie with love and grace and mercy, and Eric, who is such an amazing teacher, and Joni, who's faithful. Every one of you has these talents and these gifts. But what good is a light underneath a bushel? Let your light shine. And let this year be thankful for it, but let's be looking for a great next year.
Good morning, and as I mentioned a few times coming up here, as you all may know now how shy I am, that 20 years ago or so, my son Keith, who is here and blessed us and blessed his best friend, Michael, had brought me to the Lord over 20 years ago. And my son now is married to a beautiful woman, my daughter, Emily, who is a strong believer as well. And my daughter, Jennifer, and my grandbabies come here as well. And, you know, where Michael had mentioned what God has done and how I plan to go forward this year. And this year has been a bumpy road within my own home. And as you all know, the Lord took my sister home almost 6 months ago. And Christmas was special in the sense that her daughters shared a little bit about their mom. But as I told them, you know, my mom and dad were able to unwrap their gift, and that was their first daughter and child to go home with them. And I'm so blessed to see my beautiful niece, Jacko, and her husband, Andrew, and pretty Anaya walking with the Lord. But we talk about obedience, and to be obedient is to know when you hear God's powerful voice, I am obeying. And I just, this morning, when I was doing my devotion, it's just remembering that, to put on my eyeballs, keep on asking and it will be given to you. Keep on seeking and you will find. Keep on knocking and the doors will be open to you. But I just want to thank God for my husband, my children, and my family. And the women's study, as a few of you had mentioned, how we are all so close, and I have the biggest UCLA fan, Joanna. and Maria, you know, I've learned to just love on her, knowing that, yes, she was Michael's mom, and yes, she was a teacher at Lakeview, but she's more than that. And Tina, living around the corner and not seeing her, maybe honking and being off Orange Day and saying hello, but her here now and seeing her weekly has just been so amazing. And I just want to say thank you, each and every one of you. And Ruby, I'm glad there's somebody else that's just as quiet as me.
All right, we still have a few more minutes, some time. Anybody else have anything to share?
Anaya's never in her seat. I think we need to have somebody monitor Anaya so she doesn't walk around. All right. Well, I usually like to, in my mind, when people are speaking, it inspires me to gather my thoughts. And I'm usually that kind of person, and my wife knows. I'm usually that kind of person, well, as I'm talking, I'm thinking. So it's usually never like, you know, you prepare a whole something to say, and then you come up here and you say it. It's like, as I'm having a conversation or as I'm trying to work through an issue, it's best that I talk about it, and then I'm like, oh, that's right. So I'm coming up here right now, not really with really specifically anything to say, but like Ali was saying, that being obedient to God, and I feel like the last couple Sundays prior to my speaking, to preaching, I hadn't really shared as much. But as far as a 2025 recap, this year has been very transformative for me. As you've all known, for those that have been here throughout this year and were here the day that I preached, I grew up in the church. I grew up in a Christian church. My whole life I've known God. I've never not known God. And so what happens in your life when you start to walk away? You try to walk in both worlds. You try to continue to be that light, but you're constantly being involved in darkness. I'm not talking about witchcraft darkness. I'm not talking about, you know, any kind of evil spirit stuff, but that's the way that the devil works. He tricks you into thinking that you can live both lives, meaning you can hang out with the friends that go out and party and drink, and you could still show up on Sunday and be perfectly fine because you said your prayers. And so that can be the life that you start to live out each and every day. But you don't realize what kind of tricks that's playing in your mind, because you start to think, well, I'm not doing that sin. I'm not doing that thing. And I'm still praying to God, and I'm still asking for forgiveness, so I'm fine. And I grew up in the church, so I'm fine. But in reality, you don't realize that all those things that you're doing, it comes back to you somehow, some way. We talk about, you know, it's going to come back around to you in the good things that you do, but definitely in the bad things that you do. And it's not always going to be in some kind of catastrophic way. It's not going to be some kind of sickness in your family. But I'm talking about a lot of the mistakes that I made in my when I was not walking with the Lord as much as I should have been, you start to realize the people that you hurt. And you start to realize the relationships that didn't last because those are on broken promises. They weren't on the God's word. God's word is a never-ending, unable to be broken. God's promises cannot be broken. But when you start living a certain way, those promises are broken. The worldly ways will make you think that those ways can't be broken, but they are. And you can see it in the relationships that you have. Friends that I did have that I thought were my best of friends, no longer in my life. And it has nothing to do with the fact that I don't want them in my life. Well, not to say that I don't want them in my life, but I knew that the way that I needed to be walking, it couldn't involve them. And I remember my youth pastor, Pastor Charlie, he was such an inspiration in my life. And he had told me that you love everyone, but sometimes you got to love people from a distance. And I'm going to keep praying for my friends, and I'm going to keep praying for those that when I was walking in that life of going out and doing things I knew I shouldn't be doing, I'm going to continue to pray for them. And again, when Ali stood up to speak, it started to make me think about being obedient. And as much as I've continued to grow my walk this year, and think about where I've come from, the devil will make you think that because the way you used to walk, people will see you differently, and they will. They're going to be like, well, you used to be like this. You used to be like that. Now you walk with the Lord? Oh, how convenient. How convenient. Oh, now you don't do those things? I remember how you used to be. Well, guess what? I know what it feels like to walk in those shoes of trying to live that double life. So now when I walk across someone, when I come across someone and they're living that double life, I can relate to them. So the devil may think that he has you bound because of the way you used to live, but I'm using his tricks against him now. I'm able to tell the devil that you cannot use those tricks to put me down. I'm going to use those tricks against you because I'm going to grab that person from the street. I'm going to grab that person in that life who is not sure about if they should be following God or not. And I'm going to tell them exactly how my experience was. And I'm going to tell them that this is the best way. You may think that what you're doing is fine. You may think that walking in both worlds is fine. But I'm going to use my experience to say I try to walk in that double life. And it's not going to work out for you. You may think it's working out for you, but it's not. And so this past year has just been being obedient to God. I even talked with Pastor Mike a little bit just about idolatry, and that can look in a lot of different ways. And a lot of us, I want to kind of put this thought in your head right now about idolatry is that, it's not necessarily worshiping something, but think about the things in your life that are taking up your time where God could be. And, innocently enough, I am a huge Rams fan. I have season tickets, and, it's kind of, I've always been a sports person, and I coach basketball, and it's kind of a year-round thing, and especially around this time of year, our schedule is crazy. And, I think God's been speaking to me that I spend a lot of time, breaking down film, coming up with game plans. I spend a lot of time watching football. We go to the game. Sometimes it's a whole event on a Sunday. And again, it's all innocent fun. But when I think about how much time I've invested in those things, and I think about how much time I've invested in God, it's really lopsided. And so again, it's not idolatry in the form that I worship football. Sports are a part of my life, and I'm come to understand that I can use sports and I can use that as a way to share the message of God. But at the same time, it's also become a way for me to realize that I need to balance my life a lot more. And I need to balance the fact that I don't need to spend a whole day or right after the game, I don't need to jump on my iPad and watch film. I need to spend time with my family. And I need to spend time with God. And just this morning, I was frustrated about a lot of things, and I'm always trying to, figure it out. And my prayer has been, again, God, help me to not lean on my own understanding, but to lean on yours. And I'm always like, why when I'm going through these issues, when I feel like I need to speak my mind, something always comes in the way of that. The issue is not between you and another person. Let's get that clear. I learned this a long time ago. There's not bad people. There's just bad behaviors. There are bad behaviors that distract you from what's really going on. So an issue that you have with the person in your life, a person with your family, it could be the person closest to you, like your spouse, or it could be the person not so close to you. It could be like a family member you see every so often. The issue is not with them. There are greater forces outside of us that are trying to tear us down and break us down. And once you realize that, you're going to realize that when people do things that hurt you, it's not them. It's not the person. So I think going into this year, a lot of forgiveness needs to be done to strengthen my walk with the Lord. And I just hope that if there's someone in your life that you need to forgive, I hope you forgive them, just as Jesus has forgiven you. And so that's just a little bit, again, I had no idea what I was going to come up here and say, but I just wanted God to speak through me. Thank you, Ali, for sharing about being obedient, because I think I need to do more of that this year, and I hope that I can inspire some of you to do the same.
Okay. Is it on? Okay, so this is the prayer. This is the what used to be in the prayer box. This represents the answered prayers. This is what I took out of the box that was up there. I started this in January, and when I started this prayer wall, not prayer wall, that sounds like we're in Jerusalem, the prayer board, I had a whole other vision, and you guys changed it. And for a while, it was, I'll be honest, it was frustrating, because you know, you have this vision and people change it, and it's frustrating. You know, you want something and people keep changing it, and God did it a different way. And when I was reading them last night, it was like, oh, that's why. So I put these into different categories, and a lot of these were about health. And the last song that we sang, You're Always on Time, it was so perfect because God's timing is always on time, and it rarely matches our time, right? And especially when it comes to pain. We want our pain to go away quickly, and we're often very confused as to why it doesn't go away. You know, we pray, you know, please take this pain away. Even, like, not even from ourselves, like, take the pain away from the people that we love. Why are you know, why is this person still in pain? Why is Betsy, you know, why does she still have this back pain? Why, you know, what's going on? But his timing is always perfect. And there's sometimes where sometimes we'll never know why it's a no, right? And sometimes we'll find out, like Joanna, you know, it's a not yet, because Betsy went to rehab and she met Joanna, and now Joanna's here, and that's so awesome. And so sometimes we'll never know, and sometimes we'll know why it was a not yet, and sometimes, so these are not always, not all of these are a yes. Some of these are no's. Like some of these are interviews that they did not get the job, right? So like he had an interview on here, and he did not get the job. So this is an answer. These are answers. God answered all of these prayers, but some of them are no's. And so, like, one of these was somebody prayed for somebody who had a surgery, but the person died. And so we don't know why, but God knows why. And so, so I just wanted to show this as a representation of, a tangible representation of Redeemer's prayers, and to show, and also it's not just Redeemer. This is from, there were prayers in here from the Spanish church. There were prayers in here from I think from the Jewish church, from people, from visitors. There was one in here from Brad. There was for Michael. There was one in here from visitors, just praying for Redeemer as a whole. So it was, it's just a beautiful, a representation of God answering our prayers. And I wanted it to be always flowing from there to here, not to here, but into the box. And I had this vision of, going into here. And I wanted it to be, I know not everybody was here in January, and so I should probably reintroduce it, but I wanted it to be, at a certain date, like if you had a surgery or an interview or something like that, so that it could be a constant moving. But it is nice to have some that are continually up there so that people can walk by it and just be praying, that are, it did change my mind. It changed my heart because I had a different vision, and it's just not what, what God had planned for the wall. I had it in mind for Redeemer, and God had it, for everybody. Everybody comes in here, and prays for people. And like Allie was saying about obedience, and she got to see, or when she obeyed, she was blessed with something totally, something so huge, and she got to see Jose become a Christian. But if she hadn't obeyed, Jose still would have become a Christian, right? You got that blessing because you obeyed. So we get to pray. Like, he like gives us this blessing. He gives us this gift of getting to pray for each other. And then we get to, what am I trying to say? We get to be involved in each other's lives. So we get to find out these updates about Tina's family and Claire's family. We get to be empathetic about, like Ruby. I always think about Ruby when she's nervous about surgery, and I'm not nervous about surgeries. I don't care about surgery. I'm never nervous about surgery. I'm definitely nervous about talking in front of you guys. And some people are definitely not nervous about talking in front of you guys. And I have no idea how you guys do that. And so, I wish I had that superpower. So, yeah, so it's this constant, getting to be involved in each other's lives, that when we are involved in praying for each other, just because mine was a no, I flipped him over as for privacy, or I don't know, because it looks prettier or something. I don't know why, but just because some of these were a no doesn't mean that God loves one of us more than the other or something. He's working in a different way than we understand. And when you talk about how your family, you know, something that we have been praying for years and years, and all of a sudden you have this amazing update, it strengthens my faith, and my no is all of a sudden like your yes, your brand new yes is like my no is all of a sudden doesn't matter. Do you know what I mean? Like your yes is my faith is restored, and you know what I mean? So anyway, this is why, you know, this prayer wall is so this is what this has taught me. So I hope you guys use this prayer board next year. Hey.
All right, with that, we are going to end. Thank you all for sharing, or those of you who did share, thank you for sharing testimonies this morning. I'm encouraged to see God's work in people's lives. That's one of my favorite parts of being a pastor, is that I get to be on the front row seat of watching how God is working in your lives and what he's doing in your life. And I'm glad that we all got to see it and celebrate it today. And I know that there are some of you here, maybe in a room with this many people, there's some of you who are going through a dark season and you haven't seen the answer yet. You haven't seen the light at the end of the tunnel. You haven't seen how the situation is going to work itself out at the end. But I want to let you know and remind you, as I said in the beginning, that God is with you. Whether it's in the good, whether it's in the bad, whether you've gotten the answers or you've gotten nothing from God yet, or seemingly nothing from God yet, God is with you. God is in your story. God is in your life. We're going to end with a couple songs now, and then it'll be end of church. So thank you for sharing today, and thank you for being here.